I mean, you called it. How could we not expect to see this matchup? The old Liquid versus the current Liquid. Boeufmac and Surgical Goblin 1v1 all-stars for their squads. Neither has lost a 1v1 set. Boeufmac has played in twice as many this season, however.
Boeufmac has lost 1 game per set, though. Surgical Goblin currently clean on the season at 4-0.
Yeah, this is, again, you talk about pressure, and this is just about as much pressure as you can get. And Surgical Goblin goes Lava Hound.
So NRG has, of course, clinched a playoff spot, and so has Liquid. Even if NRG wins in this match, they could be anywhere from between 4th and 6th place at the end of the season, depending on what Fnatic does. But if they're 4th, that would mean Team Liquid could drop all the way down to 5th and have to play through the entire gauntlet.
And a naked Lumberjack goes to the left-hand lane and does a ton of damage, but Boeufmac has a lot to deal with here. I'm wondering what that last card is.
Goblin Cage comes down, eats up some of the pups, Snowball to help. So essentially an almost even trade, although Surgical Goblin will come out ahead on this one in the end.
Yeah, and ahead by about 5 elixir as well. So a very interesting moment there to start this game, and you see Boeufmac taking a huge breath after that exchange.
Well, what's he worried about? He loses game 1 all the time anyway.
Yeah, right?
And Lumberjack Balloon opposite lane.
Now Surgical forced to play defense. He cannot ignore this like he had the luxury of in the first onslaught.
And that Balloon will get a connection. And Boeufmac just having trouble trying to figure out what to do. This time, Mitt puts together a much better sequence with the Ice Golem.
And you know, I like this deck construction from Surgical Goblin, not running any of the cards that recently were affected in the balance change. I mean, save for the last card, which is going to be a Valkyrie, a great counter to the new updates, but no Witch, no Wall Breakers, no Fisherman, no problem.
And this Balloon not going to get a connection. Boeufmac still fighting from behind. Death damage will help, but no great way to get directly on tower.
And if this becomes a 2-tower game, Surgical Goblin's going to find himself in a tough spot. So he's going to have to play really, really clean here for the next 20 seconds.
Balloon down, raged up, Goblin Cage. Not going to stop death damage from getting in.
Oh, wow! And look, Boeufmac looked like he thought that was going to connect, but now 8 seconds left. A really rough spot to be in, and Surgical Goblin stays perfect in this ever important game.
And Boeufmac takes a big sigh, shaking his head, but guess what, buddy? You've been here before. Do not count out a 1-down Boeufmac. Surgical Goblin did play very well in that opening game.
Yeah, a little bit of BM there coming out at the end, and why not do everything that you can to get in your opponent's head? Again, pressure is something we're going to talk about all day today, and Boeufmac plays very well under it, but now behind a game, the BMs coming out from Surgical Goblin and Team Liquid in a very, very good position.
You like that deck construction, Andrew? The Valkyrie in instead of other options that would not counter the Wall Breakers just in case. Surgical Goblin up 1 in this best-of-3 set.
So both these players following suit with what you'd expect in the sense of Boeuf dropping 1 game in 1v1, and of course Surgical Goblin staying perfect, and you see a little bit of bait coming out from the Netherlander already.
And he played this other day. I'm going to expect it's the same construction, this bait with Wall Breakers, and you got to imagine Boeufmac had to be expecting this at some point during this set as well.
And we'll see exactly how he manages his spells. Obviously the Valkyrie is a nice way to counter a lot of these baity cards. And a well-placed Valkyrie can actually completely counter a Goblin Barrel, but very difficult to get the timing.
Maybe trying to get that Fisherman ahead of the minions. Does not do it, though. Goblin Cage picks it up. And Witch for Boeufmac.
And I can't remember which big spell Surgical had in his deck. But I'll be curious to see if he does have a Rocket. and if that comes into play.
And wall breakers. Valkyrie gonna have to respond. What will he do about the Goblin gang on the left-hand side? Fisherman.
A nice high Fisherman there. A good even trade, 3 for 3.
Reaching the midway point of regulation time, and both players have fired shots. Nothing is quite connected yet. And you see not wanting to just play the snowball there is Boeufmac, knowing the Goblin Brawler would probably be tanking.
Yeah, and he went a little sneaky with that barrel, throwing it a little short in front of the tower, maybe hoping for the snowball to come down.
Valkyrie back in cycle. Wallbreakers dealt with easily. Fireball for the Princess.
Boeufmac doing a great job of managing what bait decks do, which is they overwhelm you on both sides of the board or spell-wise, and not wanting to deal with the Princess, not wanting to deal with the wall breakers.
But falling way behind on Elixir and now on damage as well.
Yeah, that Dark Goblin should get right on through to get some more shots in, and no King Tower activation.
And you see Boeufmac shaking his head, knowing he didn't need to play that Fisherman, didn't get any value out of it. And Surgical Goblin doing a great job of stretching his former teammate very thin across the arena.
Yeah, and Surgical Goblin still, even though he's got 600 damage more on the left-hand tower, he can still just play Wall Breakers right or Goblin Barrel right and change that tune immediately. So, in a very good position.
Fireball gets 5 off the board, so nice work for Boeufmac going into sudden death overtime. And now this Royal Giant Witch push doing some work on the left-hand side, starting to get things very even.
Yeah, and this is a tricky barrel from Surgical. We'll see where it happens, and those minions were already in play.
And now Boeufmac making some fantastic plays, and again, Fireball gets damage and takes the Princess off the board, very close to retaking the lead.
Yeah, Dark Goblin being protected by those bats and gets the Witch out of play. And Boeufmac just having to pour Elixir on there to mitigate the damage from that Dark Goblin. Very well protected.
Down by 3, does have the Valkyrie back. And the Valkyrie will walk up. We'll see if he protects the Princess. Mega Knight not picked up by the Fisherman.
Now Mega Knight tanking both of the towers. Can Surgical figure out a way to take advantage of that?
And look at that Valkyrie on the right-hand side, now giving dual lane pressure for Boeufmac. Royal Giant on the tower. That's a couple big-time shots.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage in, and 7:14 remain. Surgical playing from behind.
Royal Giant high. Princess easily taken off the board.
It feels like Surgical Goblin is out of answers. One minion squeaks through,
wow,
and that minion is going to do it. Now within fireball range, not needed.
This is insanity, Andrew, but what else could you expect? The former teammates, 2 of the best head-to-head players on the planet, both playing for everything at this stage.
And this is exactly what we talked about with Boeufmac. He's never won a 1v1 set in the fall without dropping at least one game. Surgical Goblin finds his first loss in this set. This season, it's now all down to game number 3. NRG, Liquid, Boeufmac, Surgical, 1-1. It doesn't get better than this. Let's go.
This one game means so much. One game really is worth 2 matches at this point.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it is really astounding, and it doesn't get better than this. It really does not. Game 5 of King of the Hill, Game 3 of the 2v2, and of course, Game 3 of the 1v1. We are going the distance on the most important day.
And look at Boeufmac going bait against Surgical Goblin.
He is running the deck back that he just beat.
And wall breakers both connect. Opening 50 seconds. Boeufmac already taking a huge chunk out of Surge's right-hand tower. Bats trying to even the odds.
So Surgical Goblin has the luxury of Snowball or the Bar Barrel here to clean up the Goblin.
Well, and that's the interesting thing, is the Snowball does not prevent all of that Goblin Barrel damage. So he's going to hope he can use that Bar Barrel more often, but again, he's against bait, can get stretched very thin.
Yeah, and he does not have a great way of getting to the Princess, depending on what the last card is. And it's a Lumberjack, so no great way of eliminating Princess from play other than having to use the Bar Barrel up high, and then you got Snowball on the back end.
And that Goblin Gang timing was great from Boeufmac. Princess still on the board.
And the Bar Barrel not taking the Princess out. Surgical Goblin has made some critical errors early on.
Mega Knight still tanking for the barrel. Tons of damage in. Princess still alive.
And just finally clears her off, and you see Surge readjusting after that. Princess did work on him.
Wall breakers maybe a little ill-timed from Boeufmac in that moment. These ones looking to sneak on through. Goblin Cage down at the last second.
Brawler running across maybe a gang. There's the Goblin Gang. Nice counter push potential.
Plenty of elixir for Boeufmac, and you see him setting up Princess. Mega Knight ready for when that Witch does come across.
Witch there to help with the bats.
And not even worried about getting a Mega Knight down. Princess, Dark Goblin doing their jog. And I think he wanted to split those wall breakers there, Andrew.
And now you look, Boeufmac goes left lane, tower down below, 1,300 HP.
Boeufmac only at 4 elixir. Goblin Cage trying to distract and looking to put pressure on the left-hand side.
Surgical Goblin having a really, really hard time getting his balloons in.
And a couple of bats do bite that tower.
And a big swing from the Lumberjack.
And again, keeping pressure on that left-hand side. Wall breakers do not connect, but barrel in.
Snowball comes down. No, it does not. Surgical eats the entirety of the Goblin Barrel on the left, takes the Dark Goblin on the right.
This is insane. Getting to our final 2 minutes of sudden death overtime. Boeufmac and Surgical Goblin trading big blows. Boeufmac pressure on both lanes. Surgical Goblin fighting on this right-hand side.
Boeufmac with the advantage of having both towers low enough to strike at any moment. Surgical has to focus on the left. A great snowball in from Surgical.
One shot still does get through.
The balloon is there! Connects! The balloon is there! He ignores the Goblin Barrel, and the balloon sneaks through, and you see Boeufmac still on the tower. Surgical already celebrating.
Unbelievable. One balloon connection sneaks through. A back and forth battle. NRG nearly